Jesus said to go into all the world and preach the good news. And that's something that's been close to our hearts since both of us became Christians. Some years ago, we moved from Brighton, leaving our family and friends behind, and we moved to Middlesbrough. And then from there, God spoke to us about coming to Hull and starting a new church here, which is what we did 15 years ago.
And both of those moves were really challenging but joyful as we saw what God did both in Middlesbrough and what God is now doing in the city of Hull. Well, of course, as a family of Regions Beyond, we are continually wanting to plant into new areas and regions with the gospel. And one of those cities that we've been looking at the last couple of years is the city of Birmingham, a massive city, the second city in the UK, full of young people. A quarter of the people are from Islamic backgrounds, a place of great diversity. And over the last 18 months particularly, we've been praying and we're doing things online in lockdown, really praying that God would send people to Birmingham. What's happened in that process from the very first prayer meeting is that God has been moving people and calling people to that city. So over the next year to 2 years, many people are moving to Birmingham to help us start Regions Beyond churches, but particularly in partnership with other church movements that are already on the ground there. Well, Joe and I have been involved in that, and we've had the joy of going over to Birmingham and meeting some of those couples. Only recently we went and sat in people's gardens. And as we sat there, we began to talk to people about the vision that God has for their city. And they became full of faith and excited to see what God wanted to do with them and in their communities. As Joe and I came back from Birmingham, we had a discussion. Should we move to Birmingham? Well, Joe wasn't particularly enamoured by that because the challenges of moving are difficult to leave friends and family. So after a couple of days where Joe was, well, to be honest, full of tears and anxiety, just thinking about it, we just prayed together and I said, Joe, let's just ask God to speak. Should he speak to you about moving to Birmingham? Well, and me, of course. So tell us what happened, Joe, as we prayed that prayer.
So over the next few days, I just noticed that either on the radio or on TV or people I met, things kept popping up about Birmingham everywhere, and I really couldn't deny that I felt that God was actually speaking to us about Birmingham very clearly and that we ought to go.
So God spoke to us to move to this city, which I know for some of you, you're thinking that's no surprise at all. For others of you, my goodness, that's a shock. But in the mission of God and that command to go, we've got to do that. God has told us not to stay, but to go. And he's now spoken to us to move to the city of Birmingham. This is fresh news, which is why we wanted to tell you as our church, particularly at Jubilee Church. But I know this video is going to go to different places. But we are so grateful to God to speak to us. And of course, there's great heartache in our hearts as we think about losing friends and family that you are to us, particularly in the city of Hull and the communities that we're a part of, the agencies we partner with. But it's not the end, is it? Because we're 2.5 hours away. As a couple, we are still very much committed to seeing God move in the city of Hull. And I'll still be coming back on the odd occasion, particularly to meet up with Dan and the leadership team and Josh and Jen and the leadership team at Freedom Church, because I'll still have support and oversight and stand with you in the vision that God's called us to. But of course, we are going to be moving on. So that means our house is going to go on the market, and we're looking to move maybe in the next few months whenever our house sells. So those are things you can be praying for us in this season. We'd like a nice house, wouldn't we, Joe?
Yes, please.
But we want God to speak to us about the right community to base ourselves in, because we have a vision to plant many churches right across Birmingham and the West Midlands. So today isn't a final goodbye as you watch this video, but it's the start of a process of moving, of saying goodbye. But please continue to pray for us, partnership with us. Do pray for Jubilee Church and the team there led by Dan Fryer. I'm so thrilled what God is doing in Jubilee Church Hull and with the plant now in Freedom Church. So please pray for us, pray for a home for us, pray for the right city, the right place in the city to place ourselves as we begin to see God move in that city. So thank you for partnering with us. and we hope we'll be able to say goodbye in person over the next few weeks and months. God bless.